And that's a perfect segue as who we have next up on our list is Jordan Owens. He finds his way to Chapel Hill after a very short stint at Oklahoma State it was. He hit the portal, joined Oklahoma State, for whatever reason, maybe didn't like the fit or didn't feel like it was the best place for him in his last season. He hit the portal and came to Carolina. And, I was listening to a podcast that he was on. Shout out to Hills in the End Zone. I know you can find them on Instagram. They do a lot of interviews with, current players at Carolina, and they do a really good job. And Jordan Owens was on, and he coming out of high school, he didn't really have any offers. And this is a really good story. And, 6'6", 255. And if I was a betting man, I would say he's heavier than that. He's a big dude. And who wants this one first?
I'll take it if it's cool, Trevor. Yeah, mute monster got him there for a little bit. Yeah, man, Jordan Owens, guy that comes in, Central Arkansas is where he had a good bit of his production. Touchdown Oklahoma State, I believe it was. Is that correct?
He was there for a few months. Yep.
Yeah, there for a very short period of time. But I'll start with this. Looking at the dude's measurables, right? He's 6'6", 255. You know who that reminds me of? Is Darnell Washington from Georgia. And he's with the Steelers now, 6'7", 264, just an absolute unit. Guy that's a mismatch problem for linebackers that aren't as tall. Just look at that dude right there, man. I mean, he looks like he should be playing D end. A guy that shows, the potential, has, really good hands, is a red zone threat when we're down there on that side of the field, and can make guys miss. He's super hard to bring down, obviously, with his body type and his frame. But just a prototypical tight end, big body, great hands, not a bad route runner. And just a red zone threat every time you're down there. Just one of those guys that you throw the ball up to and just tell them, hey, go get it, big fella. You're one-on-one, with a linebacker back at the end zone, or back pylon or something. Go make a play for us. I think that's what we can get from Jordan Owens. He's seen some production at the lesser, the lesser conference, at Central Arkansas, 17 catches, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. But a guy that I could see come in, and in terms of, college production, a guy that I'm super excited to have in your room. Anytime you can get, especially in, now in the portal era, we see guys coming from lesser conferences and have, immediate impacts at their schools that they've went up to. And I think this is a perfect example of that. A guy that has had some success at the collegiate level, is just looking for an increased role and stiffer competition. Obviously, he sought that after, which is why he committed to Oklahoma State. Now he spent a couple months there and found his way to Chapel Hill. Super anxious to see what role he plays in for us. I definitely could see him more of a red zone threat. I'll actually put in a early prediction. I would say over 80% of his catches will be, or 80% of his touchdowns this year will be in the red zone. That's my bold take.
There you go.
That's all I got.
Well, I mean, also, people may look at his stats and say the FCS level, they're not, that high up there. Why would his game translate? I mean, he's also had 995 snaps over his college career, and he enters the room that's very inexperienced, and in the FCS, they like you said, some of them, they do make that transition to the P4 and it translates really quick. And if his game can translate quick, it's going to make a big difference for this room. But I will also say this, with the room being so inexperienced, I hope, just listening to that podcast he was on, he sounds like a leader. And him being the old guy in the room. Sorry, Jordan, if you're listening, you're still very young compared to us, but that they can lean on you, and and hopefully he can be that guy for them, because he can still provide tips, because he's had 995 snaps, at the college ball level, and that's production. Trevor, I want to get you in here. Tell us a little bit about what we potentially could expect. I think I'll tell you before you go, if that's okay. I think we're going to see him in some of that downhill pounding the rock. He's someone that you can plug in at the end potentially. At 6'6", if I was guessing, he's already, I don't know. You look at that film, there's no way he's 255. If I was betting, he's 265, 270 potentially. I'm not sure, the type of work or what type of body style or type they want him at coming in. But I would, if I was betting, I would thinking if his game can translate rather quick, we're going to see him in the box doing some good blocking for Davian guys.
Completely agree. I completely agree with that, dude. In terms of the body, he's the biggest one in the room. So, and I think he should be the best run blocker in the room. And if I'm taking in today's college football world, I think I'd rather have a guy from the FCS level with some experience than a kid straight out of high school, right? But I agree with Troy too. I think he's going to be used a lot in the red zone, not just for the run blocking, but to create mismatches with his big body, just to box dudes out. So I'm excited about what he can be. He had a brief stint at Oklahoma State, like we talked about, but that's the only FBS experience he's got. So he's still new to this level of football, but he is the veteran in the room, and hopefully he can step up for us. And I think he's a guy that comes in with a huge chip on his shoulder, because he hasn't got that high, attention throughout his career. Like some of the other guys in the room, like you mentioned, one offer coming out. So I'm excited about Jordan. And like I said, I think I'd rather add a guy with his experience than a young guy coming out of high school. Now, that's exactly what we need in a room.
I'll piggyback on that, Trevor. Kendra Harrison, bro, if you're listening and tuning in, brother, there's still a spot for you in this room. We want you, big dog. I know Oregon got them pockets, but it's something. The best in Carolina play at Carolina, brother. Come on home.
Oh, I'm very hesitant to go. I don't even know if I should say what I'm going to say.
I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking the same thing.
Look, this is why we do this podcast. If you got a problem with what I got to say next, Troy, you're the founder of not the co-founder. You are the founder of the podcast. Just hit the private chat and tell me to be quiet. Maybe it's more of a question. Can he, if he wanted to, could he find his way back to Chapel Hill after the shenanigans on Instagram?
Hey, I'll be honest with you.
I'll take him. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. You take him 100%, because dude's just we won't get into all this, too heavily. That was just me jabbing and poking and making fun. No disrespect to Kendra at all. Super good dude. I wish we could see him in Carolina, but he made the best decision for him and his family, and that's cool. Best of luck to you. But yeah, man.
Had to get our blood pressure up, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man.
I digress.
We'll just all digress on this one.
I still feel a certain way about that. Of course I'd take him. Great guy, but man, that hurt my feelings a little bit.
It stings, bro. It stings. Anytime you have a high blue chip prospect like that go somewhere else, it stings. But hey, it's addition by subtraction. Maybe it's if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I'm very, very high on that. But I think we got the guys in this room, regardless. We've got some youth there, but all of our guys that we've got bodies, man, and that's something to be hopeful for sure.
Yeah. Troy, just real quick, do you think, when you were off stage there for a minute, I brought up about the potential of seeing him in the box, and helping out in the run game. Is that a position that you could see Jordan being a part of?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you get a guy with his stature, I'd be anxious to see what this guy bench presses and squats, because he's just an absolute unit. But yeah, absolutely, 100%, man. I know over the last several seasons, us Carolina fans have gotten so used to our tight ends being a pretty big staple in the passing game, and a lot of that's, we'll see, just what kind of usage and how these guys are used in a whole new regime, a whole new offense, and a coaching staff. But yeah, most definitely, Jordan. I think he's a guy that we could see in the run blocking and in the run block game, and we could also see him, like I mentioned, in the red zone. I think he can make an impact in many, many different ways.
I agree. I expect big things from Jordan this year. All right,
Yeah,
last one.
you were really high on Jordan coming into this stream.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, the only thing is if the game can translate, because he was a late addition, right? And he's, an addition in the spring portal, right? So he hasn't been here, but I will say this, I'll give another plug to the guys over at Hills in the End Zone. I'm not sure. I know they're on Spotify, but go find them and listen to his interview. And I apologize in advance if I get a little bit of it wrong, but recalling his interview, I don't even think he was considering playing football at all in college. And it was somebody in his life saying, it doesn't matter what level you go, you just start somewhere. And he was like, all right, I'm going to go after this. And that's kind of like, that was his journey. That's what he went after it. And now he finds himself at Chapel Hill. So, well, if you're a recruit, I know sometimes, we have like recruit families that follow the podcast, and we were actually talking with some of them last night, and that was a pretty cool experience over on TikTok. Hey, if you're a recruit out there, man, don't ever give up. You'll never know potentially where you might find yourself in life, like Jordan is now. Spent most of his college career at the FCS level, and now he's at Carolina. So, hey, kudos to Jordan for keep pushing forward. So,
hey, the next crew, thanks for tuning in today. You just heard a clip from a recent episode where we broke down one of the key position groups. If this episode hit the mark, do us a favor, like it, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. That kind of support keeps the podcast rolling. You can catch full episodes of the Tar Pit Podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Don't forget to follow and subscribe today. The Tar Pit Podcast is proudly powered by Untapped Sports Network. Thanks for listening, and as always, go Heels.